Hello, this is Dale Matthews, and I'm fortunate enough today to be joined by Mike Jones. Hello, Mike Jones, and welcome
Hey
to our show.
Dale, how you doing?
I'm doing
Are
okay.
are we gonna get? Are we gonna smoke a doob here? Are we gonna?
No, no.
We're
Here's the
not.
question to our viewers. Um, Is the sun over Grants Pass in Josephine County green? Is it possible that these are the sun rays of a green sun over Josephine County, greenish gray? If you ask Mark Seligman, he would say, yes, indeed. This marijuana plant is the future of Josephine County. Just be a little careful. I like Mark, and he's covered a lot of interesting things recently. But if you give him your telephone number, he's going to call you 5 times a day on this.
And
Mike knows.
That may be more marijuana news than you need.
Yes, but we're going to bring you some this evening, and we're also going to temper it with a little hemp. So there's some controversy about this. All of a sudden, it seems like all the movers and shakers and the people who used to move and shake are now talking about also hemp. Hemp? It's like all of a sudden everyone's talking about aluminum. Why? Cliff Thomason stops me in the hallway the other day. Those of you who watch the show every day, you smart kids. Cliff Thomason stopped me in the hallway the other day, and he starts talking to me about hemp. And I'm going, why is this guy talking about hemp? Do you realize, Dale Matthews, that hemp is more valuable than marijuana? Really, Cliff, now what are you smoking? But no, it's not. Well, he was pretty hot on this. Well, now we know why he was talking about this. And so everybody and their brother seems to be getting on the hemp bandwagon. And one of the reasons, well, you'll see Mark Seligman's explanation. Let's take a look at the Channel 5 story that happened just a few minutes ago, and we're sharing it with you.
Controversy surrounding cannabis never seems to end, but this time it's not about recreational or medical marijuana.
That's right. The battle that's brewing in Josephine County tonight is over hemp. NBC5's Matt Jordan is live in studio with the details. Matt?
Greg, Christine, some in Josephine County would call it marijuana versus hemp. One side says the two can't coexist in a county. Others say there's plenty of room for both crops. A bill going through the state could settle that argument once and for all.
I think that the two different crops can coexist.
I'm all for hemp, just not in this county.
It's two sides of the same leaf in Josephine County as hemp farmers and marijuana farmers go head to head. With the legalization of recreational marijuana just weeks away, some are worried that current hemp crops could endanger their plants.
The male hemp plants will impregnate the female cannabis plants and damage them.
Mark Seligman is a supporter of House Bill 2668 that would restrict hemp growing in the state. He says Josephine County Commissioner Cheryl Walker, his one-time political opponent, is growing hemp on her property at the expense of nearby marijuana farmers.
When you plant one crop at the expense of another, to me and to most people, that's bioterrorism and irresponsible.
In a letter to legislators, Walker and her fellow commissioners spoke out against the House bill, which would ban hemp cultivation in Josephine County.
The bill was trying to exclude 3 counties out of 36 counties without even consulting with us to determine what processes were taking place or what was important to the county.
That brought about accusations of a conflict of interest since Walker is a partner in a hemp farm.
We have no control over whether the chair of the committee or the speaker of the House will allow that bill to come out of committee or even go to a vote. So we have no control over that.
Walker says that letter fell well within her boundaries as a commissioner.
This comes from the Handbook of Ethics for Government Officials. As long as you're representing a class of people, that there's not a violation. And I was representing the class of people.
The potential conflict of interest came up Wednesday.
I do take this issue very seriously.
Fellow Commissioner Simon Hare, an investor of hemp in the county, acknowledged he himself might have a conflict of interest and asked County Counsel Wally Hicks to look into the matter.
When I learned of this potential conflict of interest, I immediately contacted the Oregon Ethics Commission for clarity on this issue.
Walker says she welcomes the investigation because she says she signed the letter on behalf of the county.
Neither one of us even thought about declaring any kind of conflict of interest because we were talking about representing the county from being, excluded from growing an agricultural crop.
The House bill banning hemp in Jackson, Josephine, and Douglas counties is still in committee. If it becomes law, it would create a 5-mile buffer zone between marijuana and hemp crops, as well as restrict hemp to 1,000 feet away from school zones. Live in studio, Matt Jordan, NBC5 News.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Now, it's also real interesting that Cheryl Walker's property, where hemp is being grown, is real close to a school.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I don't know what the exact footage is there, but I thought it also was interesting that she's representing people with no class in the county. Is that what she said? Oh, no, a class of people. Well, that's so stupid. Anytime you're doing anything, you're representing a class of people.
Would that be an elementary school class or a high school class, Mike?
Yes, or something. And I noticed that Mark dug his Recall Walker T-shirt out of the closet, especially for this TV appearance.
He swears he was wearing it anyway, and it was just a coincidence.
Oh, yes. Okay.
All right. Well, look, here's the thing. The plot sickens. I mean, it goes on and on. Here's Simon Hare saying, oh, by the way, I may need to recuse myself. See, nobody said that. And Cheryl, well, it never occurred to us. It would never occur to them to recuse themselves, no matter what.
That's very interesting that it never occurred to them before that. And then all of a sudden, on the eve of, he probably knew that all of a sudden media is getting, frisky about this thing. Oh, I better come out and say what's going on. The interesting thing, we don't know what hemp farm he is involved in. Is he involved in the same one as Cheryl Walker? Very interesting, because I wouldn't put those two together as business partners. I really wouldn't.
Well, money makes strange bedfellows.
Yes, or something.
Ooh, bedfellows. No, I don't even want to think about that. But look, one of the marijuana kingpins, no, that's not what you call them. One of the people that's in charge, that's really interested in the economic future, the green sun that's coming up over Josephine County, is convinced that there's only one place in the county that's growing hemp at the moment. And so where would Simon Hare be involved in investing in hemp? And why is suddenly everybody interested in hemp? Because as it said in the story, up north, we mentioned this in our show before, up north, there's certain kind of grasses that you can't. Grasses, they're not that kind of grass. They're plain old grass that cows eat or whatever. And they can't grow some kind of grasses up there. Well, why? Isn't that a restriction of freedom of grass growing? Well, what they're saying is that there's one kind of grass that will just take over the other. And then you wipe out a really important crop to them up north. So this thing, there's 3 counties, this is not unusual. What they're saying here is that if you introduce hemp, it's going to kill marijuana. Now, it's just kind of interesting to me. It's just capabilities, as they say in military intelligence. It's just kind of interesting to me that everybody, it seems like so many people from the old boys network in general, and there is one, come on now, are now suddenly super interested in hemp. They never were before, but hemp destroys marijuana capabilities. And one of the theories it's just a theory, that if you don't like marijuana in general, I don't mean that you're going to smoke it, but you don't like anybody to be doing anything with it, that if you don't like that, then you would get involved with hemp, because that's going to destroy the marijuana crop. This is economic development.
It's the only logical explanation that if they are doing this for the purpose of damaging marijuana, if you can get enough people growing hemp in the county, that would probably chase the marijuana growers out of here, except for the indoor people. And the whole point of being here, because you can recreate an ecosystem inside of a building somewhere. You can do that anywhere. But the whole point of being here is so that you can do it outdoors, and take advantage of the natural, situation here that is conducive to growing marijuana. with the climate and soil conditions and the like.
Soil conditions. Tell them a little bit about what we know and what we think that we know about the Grants Pass city mayor, Mike, about growing indoors and paying through the nose for all that electricity.
I don't know. I mean, this is pure speculation, but he is in favor, I guess, of this ban on growing indoors within the city of Grants Pass.
No. Growing outdoors. He's against growing outdoors.
I'm sorry. That's what I meant. Anyway, he's against growing it outdoors, and the rationale there is that that there are times during the growth of marijuana where it gets pretty stinky, and some people might be annoyed by the smell of it. So they have come up with this idea of having an ordinance that outdoor growing it would be banned, and therefore, of course, if you were going to grow it indoors, you would need, a light setup, and then of course the electrical capability to operate said lights, and that costs money and employs electrical contractors, of which the mayor is one.
Follow the money. Now, is this all true? Is this one of the reasons? Well, all we can do is bring to you, it's pattern recognition. We've talked about this before. All we can bring to you is where all the little pieces seem to fit together, and then posit some scenarios, because look, they're not going to tell you straight out what's going on. They never do that.
You mean like that guy on the computer right behind you there?
Yes, like either one of these guys. Okay, this leads straight into our next story. Our next story came out of today's Thursday meeting. Now, on Thursdays, we talk about some of the things going on behind the scenes, supposedly in front of the public, but there's just a few of us there. You're there with me, and then you watch what the camera comes up with. And we'll be posting a story about that that looks better than this one. We'll post a better looking story than what you just saw in our because when we put out the stories by themselves, they always look stellar. I mean, it's good sound, great video. And so we'll put that out. But what we have to do is we have to sit back and go, that's a very interesting thing. Let me tell you just one more tail end thing about this bit with hemp, and it will lead directly into this. So we look, and the work that I used to do for guys in Virginia that were involved in looking at other countries and their capabilities. The work that I used to do was based on pattern recognition. What is it that these other countries are doing? And if you know close enough, if you follow close enough about what they're up to, because they don't tell you what they're up to either, you recognize things that are anomalies. Oh, that's a little strange. Anytime you're involved with people who are trying to sort of keep a secret, you look and you say, that's a very interesting thing for them to say. And you know that because it's unusual. So we've talked about some of the unusual things that are happening. This is the best that we can do. Look, in World War II, oh, no, not the history lesson. Shut up. Okay, in World War II, at the Battle of Midway, which happened at this time of year, almost exactly way back when, in 1943, the Battle of Midway was the midpoint of the battle with the Japanese. And after Midway, the Japanese never rose up again. And the only thing that we really had going for us, because we didn't know where they were, and they had a lot more carriers than we did, and if they took over Midway, we didn't know they were aiming for that. If they had done that, California would have been next, and Oregon. We know that there were submarines off the coast of Oregon more than they were off California. Oregon was the center target for Japanese submarines. And so, and for firebombs. They were trying to start our forests on fire. This is no kidding.
Yikes.
So we had some intelligence guys, similar to some of the people I used to work with, not looking domestically, looking internationally. Thank you very much. And they were able to break the Japanese code. Well, did they really break it? They could tell one word in 10. One word in 10? This isn't good enough to know anything, but they were able to piece together just enough. There's a lot of traffic out there in the Pacific. Really, that's what you're talking about? And there's this and there's that and this other thing. And so they did a couple of tricks, and they actually caught the Japanese, and they accidentally gave out some information. So they knew the attack was coming at Midway, and we sent every carrier we had. We gambled everything. We almost lost this one. Came very close. We did it because we were able to piece together little bits and pieces. Why am I saying this? Because
I have no idea.
Because I'm so boring. I know. But the reason I'm saying this is these characters aren't going to tell you what they're up to.
The commissioners are allied with the Japanese.
They're not going to tell you what they're up to. You have to kind of figure it out. And so you look and you say, now that's a very interesting thing. So here's what happened. The commissioners virtually never have something that they introduce during the other section at the weekly business session. The weekly business session is largely, at the end, Basker, is largely ceremonial. But there's this little section in there called Other, at which they believe that you can legally bring up any subject you want, and you don't tell anybody what it's about. You just suddenly, boom, there it is. Really? They never do that. Except, about 3 weeks ago, Simon Hare says, oh, I've got something for Other. And the guys look at him like, really? You never have anything for Other. And he says, yeah, you know, there's this bit where we got to send off this letter. Starting to make sense to you now? They're going to send off this letter saying that we're really against this thing that's going to restrict hemp growing in our area. What we know now is that Cheryl Walker is a partner in a hemp thing, business. And that Simon Hare admits that he is too. And so they introduced this under Other, and of course we can't say anything because this is long after public comment. And if we'd known they were going to discuss this, there might be some people, what, you think Mark Seligman would have showed up? Somebody would have shown up and said, wait a minute. You can't represent us by saying this is a bad idea. This is probably a good idea. No, it was introduced. And so they voted to send this thing out right there. They said, let's do this. Now, they didn't even know what the letter was going to say. That's a little bit unusual, even for these characters, right? And so they said, well, what we'll do is we'll have Simon write it up. Simon, the one with the conflict of interest. And then we'll put it in the read file, and then we'll just all sign it. Really?
Nice.
Okay, so I went up to Wally Hicks afterwards, this guy, and I said, they're doing this kind of stuff again, Wally. Why don't they just put everything in the read file, and then they never need to vote about anything in public? They'll just sign it in the read file, and it goes out representing the entire county. And as I said, now we know that two of them absolutely have, no matter what Cheryl Walker tried to say in that KOBI story, they've got a conflict of interest. They never should have voted on it. They never should have signed it. They never should have sent it out. It was representing a whole class of people. Come on.
Yes. Yeah.
It was representing
hemp farmers. How many hemp farmers are there in the county? Oh,
well, they're growing exponentially, Mike, because
yes, but the only ones that we know of right now are either Cheryl Walker and whoever's affiliated with Cheryl Walker.
Yeah,
that's not an entire class. That's your own private class.
Yeah, they might be partners. We don't know. Because this is the first time. Last night was the first time last night. You know, I stayed as long as I could, but I had to come back and be on this show. I had to be. So I had to leave there after an hour 45 or something to jet over here. I was still wearing my tie. And we did our show. And it was long after I was gone that Simon said, oh, by the way, I might be a cheater and a liar. Really? So this is the kind of thing that goes on where they're doing this kind of stuff. Hey, Wally, they're doing this. So major good news today. You want to tell them the major good news, Mike, or shall I?
The major good news? Oh, no, you tell them.
Okay. So for years, we've been saying, one of the prime people saying it was me, another prime person saying it was Sandy Casanelli, because we actually read through the laws. And you've heard this many times from us. What are the rules, Mike? What are the rules about open public meetings?
Oh, there are no rules at all. You can do anything you want to.
That's what the former legal counsel, before we got this guy, for 20 years was telling the commissioners. In fact, he even got down one time, we've got the tape of this, you've probably seen it, where he says, well, don't worry about that law. Nobody's enforcing it.
How convenient.
Right. And we know the new motto of this Board of County Commissioners, I don't know if it's new, but it is their motto. I know we're breaking the law and I don't care. That's Keith Eck 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've been kind of dinging this guy, saying one of the reasons we wanted to vote you in was we want to, at the very least, put an end to this kind of thing, these little deals in the back room. We know because now what's happening, and we're asking you to help us too. You're our viewers. We're asking you to help us. We know now from inside sources, inside that see the commissioners almost every day, we know that a couple of the commissioners are talking to each other outside of legality. We know it for sure. We have a source. And there are some people inside the commissioners' offices who don't approve of such a thing. And so they talk to us, not all the time. And my 2 sources inside Rotary Club meetings just haven't been going recently. I don't know if they're upset about the Rotary Club meetings or whatever, but we could really use some sources about what's going on in there. And why would that be the case? Because as we described it from the beginning, and this is what got me banned from KJO, not because I said bad words, I didn't. I questioned the Rotary Club meetings and I said, you know, there's illegal activities happening there, not by you guys at the Rotary, but the commissioners are showing up and talking about county business in a quorum in your meetings, and you're excluding everybody else, and this is illegal. You cannot do that. It's state law. They swore to uphold, and they're not doing it. And so Carl Williams, oh, you're never going to come on this, you know, you're banned for life, and, you know, I will not share my community with you because I criticized the Rotary Club. Really?
How dare you?
It's scandalous, really. I am. As Cheryl Walker says, just the fact that you're watching this show is a tragedy. You're the ones committing the tragedy, not me. Well, maybe a little bit, Mike. So we've been saying now for a long time that the rules are clear. We can read English. We know what it says. And so every once in a while, we see a glimmer of hope, and that after that Rotary Club meeting, when they invited us, they put it out, said, we're going to have a quorum, come on. And we'd been there every time before. It was a state of the county report. And then Cheryl Walker said, I want these guys excluded. They actually called the police. We left. I mean, what are we going to do? And we left. But it's violation of state law. Well, the next weekly business session, both Keith Eck and Simon Hare said, you know, yeah, we probably shouldn't have done that. Yeah, you probably shouldn't have. And then there's the time where I was, oh, does this guy ever shut up? No, I never do.
No, he never does.
And so then there was the time at the Grants Pass City Council meeting where I got up and I started talking about some meeting that Simon Hare and the other 2 commissioners had gone to of So Ready, oh, your favorite organization, and he was inclined not to give So Ready the money, and I think it was $50,000, $75,000. It was a lot of money, and he was inclined not to. And he said, well, I went to this meeting in a quorum where county business was being discussed, and I walked out of that meeting saying, you know, I think we should give him the money. It led directly to a decision. We were not invited. We were excluded. It was a closed-door meeting. And so I got up at the Grants Pass City Council and I said, this is absolutely against the law. Well, Simon Hare got up as a citizen, of course. Well, no, you know, it was just not recreational marijuana. It was a recreational meeting. No, what did he call it? He said it was a meeting where you can talk about anything you want to because it's just for fun. This was his explanation. Well, after it was all done.
Sounds like fun.
And once he got his feedback, he came up to me and he said, you know, yeah, you're probably right. I shouldn't have done that. So Simon knows the difference between right and wrong. He just chooses not to do so. While Keith Eck says, I know it's wrong and I don't care. Okay, so So we've been talking with Wally all the time, saying, Wally, we can read the rules. We know what they say. Wally Hicks went in. It was announced. It was on the agenda today. And he put the rules of the state of Oregon on county letterhead and passed them out to the commissioners. They were not happy.
I'll have you know that I have the audio for that queued up to the point where they start talking about that. If you want to hear it, we could listen, and then you could stop and comment if you care to.
That would be wonderful. It's 8.5 minutes. We were going to have a video segment for you, but every once in a while, some little technical, it was all ready, and I had already posted it so that we could put it, and then all of a sudden I'm listening, it's going, I feel that, oh, what? It wasn't like that when I was editing it.
Yes.
It's the whole conversation, 8.5 minutes. We will post that. But Mike's now going to play for you. He purports to be playing for you the salient, the salt-bearing part of this meeting. Go ahead, Mike, and let's hear that.
Yes, here's some salt for you.
See, okay, so the public meetings laws are constantly being updated in a sense, and at least analyzed. The Attorney General publishes out a public records and meetings manual on a routine basis, the most recent one in November 2014. And so in an attempt to sort of distill this, at least its essence, to this, and provide the board with a reference document, I've compiled this and submitted to you for your review, consideration, and discussion.
I mean, to me, the key phrase that keeps appearing in this thing is county business is discussed. And then the discussion has to do with deliberation toward a decision. So if you're going to discuss county business of whatever it might be, that does not lead toward any decision, that still is able to be dealt with and talked about.
Only in the public meeting context.
Well, I'm confused, because here it says that you have the purpose of this is deciding on or deliberating toward a decision.
Yes. Yes.
So if we're talking about county business, which is cutting the grass, I mean, and we talk about the shape of the grass, and yeah, that's great, and appreciate what they're doing. That is not deliberation toward a decision.
Basically, if it has to do with county business, then it is a public meeting.
Well, but see, that's where this rubber band is getting stretched so far to be all inclusive.
Nebulous analogy, but House Joint Resolution 21, just bring it home. We don't do anything on that.
Yeah, we don't have a vote.
Up to us. Well, we may.
Well,
but just like
but then the general public has a vote.
You know, like in an SOS meeting, can the board be in the room to discuss House Joint Resolution 21, even though there's no decision pending? I don't even know how there could be. Well, but if we were to send a resolution saying, you know, we oppose House Joint Resolution 21 because.
But in that situation, there's a discussion in my little pea brain means at least two people are talking about it.
Yes.
But there's also the element of gathering information, right? That
right.
can lead to
yes.
it.
Yes.
So that's what makes it grass. I mean,
yes.
It's so broad.
It's broad.
It's crazy broad.
It is.
Yeah.
It is
gathering
the
information.
The system of three means basically that any two of you at any time can only discuss county business in a public meeting. That's the takeaway.
The keyword discuss county business. HDR 21 is not county business, number one. And specifically, I mean, if anybody's referring to the presentation that I made on HDR 21, was Mr. Heck was in the room, but we didn't even talk to each other. He never asked a question. We never deliberated. I never addressed anything to him. And in fact, I never even gave an opinion on it. I just was teaching people how to read the bill, what to look for in the bill, and if they so chose to make any comment, who to contact. I didn't do anything else. I mean, just like, you know, people don't know how to read the bill. This is the relating clause. This is what it's about. This is who introduced it. You know, that's what I did. So,
I see the open public meeting law having two goals, and one is for the public to be, you know, witness to the gathering, the discussions, and stuff like that, and that's important. But also, if two commissioners are in a room, and you know, there's discussions or even alluding to the idea that we don't support or we support, or this is a good thing or this is a bad thing, it just gets really tough for the other commissioner who's not there, because the other two could come to the meeting that one wasn't at and say, well, we have a predetermined idea based on information that was gathered or even just presented by somebody else. Couldn't you? It might not even be one of you two or any of the two. Could be Commissioner Walker. It's tough for the other guy who wasn't in the room to be like, well, that's not the impression that I'm coming to the table with because I wasn't there. I don't know. I didn't hear that.
Well, I mean, to me, that's sort of like a no-brainer situation, because we are talking about something that's going to end up in a decision making. But if I ask you, who's very fluent in the whole forestry thing, you know, Commissioner, what is the idea of the forestry and the benefit of watering it as we should or whatever? And you tell me 10 minutes later, I read, oh, okay, so that's the purpose of that. Okay. That's a discussion we've had, but it has nothing to do with leading to a decision or anything else. I'm just trying to find out information on what makes trees grow better or whatever.
I'd feel more comfortable about that if that situation came forward. If you asked a question about something and I said, it's on page 107 of the resource manual.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not giving you, especially on forestry issues, it'd be tough for me to give my opinion or to even educate without some sort of a bias coming in. The whole watering is not important because we don't cut the trees anywhere. They know, so this is going to burn up. Still, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, so, but to give you the opportunity, I don't feel like there's a violation if I say I would support the resource on page 107 or.
But now the only thing I'm talking about, it's just that kind of a conversation to me is beneficial because, oh, okay, but we've had a discussion.
Yes.
And what I'm hearing you say is that we can't even have that discussion.
Probably not. Unfortunately, that's correct.
I think they can have the one I recommend. You asked a question about something, I can direct you to information. Call Rocky McVeigh. That's not outside. That's not in the purview, I think, of the public meeting law. Rocky McVeigh is a good person on that because he believes blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. No, I can't say that. I can just direct you and stuff. I don't feel like that's not a discussion.
Though remember in number 4 we have the gathering information provision.
But you're not. You're just going to a resource.
Yeah, it's a line that's got to be established for every situation. Unfortunately, this is situationally dependent, but the gathering information thing is definitely out there. That it is tough. It makes it very tough.
Okay.
Mike.
Well, thank you for this.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So what are they saying there at the end? This is very important. Well, what do you mean they can't? Let's put it in another way. Call Rocky McVeigh. Well, let's suppose instead they were talking about marijuana. And Keith Heck has some questions about it. And so Simon Hare says, well, why don't you talk with Mark Seligman? Buddy, just simply talking to Mark Seligman, or talk with Peter Gendron. Now, what information do you suppose Peter Gendron's going to tell Keith Heck?
The same information that he's just given to Simon Hare, which will be their essentially sharing information.
Sure, it's sharing information, which is all one way. Okay, and maybe that's all the facts. Probably not, but who would do all of the facts? But that's what's going to happen. Here, talk with Colleen Martin at the Chamber of Commerce, and she'll tell you everything you need to know. But it's all going to be one-sided.
Well, but you know what? Listen, the way I'm reading this, the public meeting law basically is set up so that you'll have 3 independent commissioners who do their own homework.
Yes, sir.
and are not, because if you're colluding with one or more of the other commissioners, you're just going to come out with the same rubber stamping stuff every time.
That's what this picture's about, right?
Right.
And what does that law say? What does the memorandum say? This is important, and I'll put these on just for cosmetic purposes so I look more studious.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing.
Because he doesn't need glasses.
No, here's the thing that they did not want to talk about. And Wally keeps bringing them back to this. Well, we haven't made a decision. That is part of the law, but that's not the law. That's not the whole thing. Well, we weren't sitting next to each other. That's not the point. They didn't say that here, but they've said it in the past. Well, we were in the same room, but we weren't really gathered. No. Here's the killer, and this is what stopped them dead. And what you couldn't see there is Cheryl Walker's mouth literally drops open and stays open. And Keith Eck is saying, what a crock. And he looked angry. Simon Hare already knows what these rules are. And here's the killer phrase. Keep in mind, whether you think it should be the law or not, it is the law. And there's been a huge lawsuit in Lane County where that county and individual commissioners were fined a bunch of money, and this could come out of your pockets. Here's the big, big phrase. Ready? The meeting must be in public if two or more commissioners merely gather information upon which a decision might be based.
Yeah. In other words, if they're there and their ears are functioning, and there's more than two of them there, and it's not a public meeting, the law is being violated.
That's correct. This is what we've been saying for years. Oh, no, that's not what it means. It says 11 other things. No, it does say this. And you can't just jump over the part you don't like. Okay, so there's an easy solution to this. This didn't used to happen with, this is the first time I've ever seen where three commissioners think that they know what the rule is better than us who can also read English. Super simple explanation. You can go to a Rotary Club meeting, a meeting of Mark Gowen's church. You can go anywhere you want and get up and pound on the table and say your opinion if there's one commissioner. Right. Anytime you wish to, go right ahead. As soon as there's two commissioners, they swore to do this. Oath keepers, they took an oath. And it says they will not do that. If so, they could still do it, but they have to invite us. Because they're gathering. Yes, but Mr. Matthews, we were almost not even in the same room. Why? Keith Eck was half in his office. Oh, but Mr. Matthews, we weren't seated at the same table. Oh, but only one of us was talking, or none of us was talking. You are gathering information which might lead to a decision. It doesn't even have to be proven that it did. Well, we didn't take a vote while we were there. Oh, really? What's stopping you? You do it every other place. You did it in a parking lot, not these guys. But okay, so the important thing is you can't do that. And we've been saying, and I just went out in the hallway, and I shook Wally's hand and I looked him in the eye and I said, Wally, thank you. We've been saying this for years. It's obviously what the law says. He says the law does say that.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's another thing that was brought up in that recording where Cheryl talks about, well, I just went in and talked about HJR 21, which doesn't have anything to do with county business. Really?
That's what the first part of the show is about.
Why don't you just talk to the people whose taxes are going to go from 58 cents to $2, whether or not they think that's their business? Now, I can only speculate as to what her motivation to go into SOS with this information is, but I know damn well that Cheryl Walker wants this thing passed. She wants the $2 minimum statewide because that will allow them to have more money to do the things that they want to do here locally. And that was the reason why she was taking it to SOS, so they could be pushing it and not her.
That's speculation, Mike. You're speculating.
Yes, it is. It is speculation, and that's just what I'm saying here. But
okay.
The thing is that clearly, when they're going there to tell them about HJR 21, why does SOS want to know about that? Oh, because they're thinking about whether or not it would be a good idea to, a good means to get to the goal that they want, which is to have more tax money coming in here so they can ostensibly support the sheriff's department. There's really more about supporting county
There's nothing
government.
wrong, even though I don't agree that she should be representing the county in doing this. There's nothing wrong, if she really wants to, for Cheryl Walker to go to an SOS meeting, every SOS meeting, except for the fact that she promised she would stop doing that once she became a commissioner. She violated that promise within a week or so. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that legally, except there were 2 commissioners there.
That's right. So what you're saying,
and you have to notice it. You have to put it on the official notices of the county. Oh, but that's hard. It hasn't been hard for previous boards. They wouldn't even get on the same elevator together. You and I talked about this. They go to KJO, and Marty Sether or whoever is, oh, well, we were just talking off the microphone about county business. Really? What a luckhead. What are you telling us this for? I mean, I'm glad you revealed it, but you didn't do it on purpose. Once they leave, if they leave in the same vehicle, let's see, they've just spoken for almost an hour about county business. And on the way back to do county business, they're not going to talk about, oh, let's say county business. Don't go in the same vehicle. Just the appearance. This is why they didn't get on an elevator, the previous commissioners. Well, it wasn't because they always were doing that, but because they didn't even want to appear to be doing that. And what was the number one thing the SOS said, and that the police chief said, and that we said, and everybody else, well, everybody else except for the local loons, were saying was the number one issue when it came to passing that levy? The lack of
transparency and integrity on the part of the Board of Commissioners.
So
no
if you
trust.
have a question about trust, and these guys are going out of their way to make you wonder about trust, what does that do to, oh, I don't know, trust?
Yeah. Now, back on this HJR 21 thing, if Cheryl Walker, like you said, she can go in there and talk about it all day long as she wants. She can pound the table, advocate for it, advocate for, in addition to raising the rate to $2, we should amputate the right hand of everybody in the county. And she can do that if she wants to. But number one, if another commissioner is there, they have to somehow prove that that is not county business that she's talking about.
That's ridiculous.
Or that's going to be a really difficult thing to do. And if it's in any way hazy, they'll just go, well, it wasn't county business. And
yeah, but look, here's the main point. The bottom line on all of this is, if you're suffering from a question of impropriety, if it looks to people like you're not trustworthy, why would you gamble your reputation for trustworthiness?
You err on the side of being overly cautious.
Absolutely. Well, they never do that because they don't want to do that. And so the big takeaway from today is this guy, sorry, Wally, finally steps forward and said, well, he wasn't hard charging or anything. He wasn't wrestling through the ground. I don't know. I might have handled it differently, but because they keep saying, well, that's not the law, Mr. Matthews. You certainly don't understand. Look, I'm a citizen. I can read English. I know what the law says. We were totally confirmed today on this. That is what the law says. And now on county letterhead, they've been warned. And it even mentions in the memorandum the potential. It could potentially be not only just the fine that happened in Lane County. Get this. They can't even use the telephone or emails, which they confess to doing all the time, and exchanging information back and forth, because that's gathering information that could potentially, doesn't have to be proven, could lead to a decision. State law. They swore to uphold it. But the big deal is every decision they've made in the last 60 days, according to the law, where one can show that they broke the open public meeting law, that decision that they made could be declared invalid because they broke the law to get there.
That's very interesting. And on top of that, apparently in this case that you're talking about in Lane County, was it some private citizens who sued the county over this type of thing, a breaking of the public meeting law?
They did, and here's what Wally Hicks told them. And he said, what happened in that particular case was, wait till you hear this. This is nice, because this is going to cost you money. What they said was, okay, just to look studious, what they said was, the judge ordered Lane County to pay the citizens $350,000. That's the plaintiffs. At first it was $1 million, and then they talked it down to $350,000. And two of the commissioners had to pay out of their pocket $20,000 each.
That's the part I especially like, you know, and you know what, if that is something that's on the record to these people, and they have been, you know, vocally warned here about this as well,
and on paper.
Yes, and I'm a little bit more optimistic that perhaps they will be, yes, keeping a little closer. Well, yes, but you know what? There's nothing that hits you where you live like losing 20 grand of your own hard-earned
own money, and $350,000 from the county paid out to citizens. Really?
Yeah.
The
wow.
Plaintiffs.
Wow.
Isn't that lovely? That's even bigger than $50,000 spent on 214 full-time family wage jobs for 2 ramps in a state park.
Right. And so what I would say to you citizens out there who have some money and some time on your hands and, you know, and you want to hold these guys accountable, don't, you know, give them a grace period. Let them, you know, let them move forward from here and have a clean slate for what's behind us. But if they break the law after this, keep a record of it, and you take the county to court and skewer these guys. I'm not advocating that we should, you know, try and break the bank of the county. What I'm trying to advocate is that there be a threat of a lawsuit hanging over the head of these people all the time so that they can, you know, take the law seriously. That's all.